What's up, guys? It's your man Donovan Sharp, and welcome to this edition of the Sunday NFL Rundown. My apologies for my voice, a little bit under the weather. Got a minor chest cold. I'm literally falling apart here in the holiday season. I'll be lucky to make it out of this year alive. Joining me, as always, are the who is that? Joining me, as always, are Miami J and Jay Blaze. How we doing today, guys?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Let's rock this one.
Yeah, let's go,
I'm
man.
doing a
How you
lot
doing,
better than
Blaze?
Destiny today.
What's that?
I'm doing a lot better than Destiny today.
Oh my god, that fucking kid. I feel sorry, dude. I feel so I feel sorry for that kid. I really do. I hope he does okay. I hope he does okay. I just
Yeah.
don't anyway. All right. So let's get to the topics at hand. So we're gonna start off today's show talking about, and it's telling us that there's nobody watching, but we've got 124 according to my stats. So it looks like StreamYard's a little bit glitchy right now. But so we've got the Copa America going on, and they just released Friday. I believe they went down to Miami, and on Friday they did the draws with the groups and everything. So Miami J, what are your thoughts on the draw? Who do you think is going to win? Is it good for the US, et cetera, et cetera?
So the U.S. didn't get the best draw. We wanted to avoid Uruguay, who's probably one of the better teams coming into the Cup.
Okay.
You see the groups right there. Argentina got off easy. They're going to play Peru,
Yeah.
Chile, and then the winner of Canada and Trinidad.
Oh, God.
Mexico's got a tough group. I think they may not make it out of their group. I think Ecuador is definitely going to win that group, and Venezuela could surprise some people. They're playing really, really well. As far as Brazil, they'll make it out of the group, but if I had to pick a winner today, Brazil wouldn't be in the final. Actually, Brazil's not playing. I think Colombia might win that group, but it's good. It's in 6 months, so you got to assume Brazil's going to fix their issues and they're going to win the group. So that would leave the United States. It's going to be a fight with Uruguay to win that group. If I was betting on it, I would bet Uruguay wins the group. We come out in second.
Okay.
If we go to the next slide, would have us playing Brazil in the quarterfinals.
Ooh.
That's what we need. That's what we want. Berhalter got rehired to quote unquote, and I'm quoting Matt Crocker here, the sporting director. He got hired to beat the big teams in the big competitions. So this is it. This is why he got hired.
And I'm gonna tell you what.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if we come out of Group C2 in Brazil, I mean, yeah, just like you said, they wanted, they hired Greg Berhalter for the big games, and it looks like that's what we're gonna get from the start, actually.
Right, and they were saying it this week. Berhalter, look, every other coach, Jurgen Klinsmann, Bob Bradley, Bruce Arena, every coach going back has that signature win. Even going back to 1994, when we beat Colombia in the World Cup, they were the heavy favorites. Right. Berhalter doesn't have that. And beating Uruguay at home is not going to be that signature win. They got to beat Brazil. They got to beat Colombia in that quarterfinal, in those semifinals. The U.S. needs to reach a semifinal. If they don't, this tournament should be considered a failure.
Ooh. Does the United States have a legitimate chance to win Copa America 24?
Definitely a better chance to beat to win the world than to win the World Cup. I would say if everything comes together and and they could actually beat some of these teams and make it to the semifinals, then anything can happen, right?
Okay, all right.
Now Argentina is the heavy favorite. This is Messi's supposedly last international tournament.
Okay.
Di Maria's last international tournament, so they have it all to do, and I think they'll end up winning it. But if everything comes together for the U.S. and Berhalter fixes some of his issues and they get a fire under them, yeah, they can win it.
Okay, so what, in your opinion, would be a successful Copa America for the United States? Obviously, if they win it, that's a success. But if they come up short, if they don't win it, what final result will make you say, you know what, we're ready for the World Cup?
Right. Well, it's not necessarily about what you do. It's about how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they do have to reach a semifinal. If they don't reach a semifinal, the quarterfinals, the bare minimum that we've seen at World Cups. We've reached quarterfinals before in the Copa America. We've reached semifinals of the Copa America in 2016. So the bare minimum for me is a semifinal. You have to reach a semifinal. And let's say you make it to the semifinal against a high-flying Colombia team, or you play Uruguay again, and you give them a great game, it ends 3-2, and you played your balls off, fine.
Yeah,
I'm
I think
happy.
that's I think
We did a good
that's a
job.
win.
But if we make it to the semifinal and we get beat by Colombia 5-0 and we just capitulate and give up, no, I'm not happy with that. And no matter what happens at that point, Berhalter needs to go. If Berhalter can't get them up for one of these games at home, then he needs to go.
You know, I remember a couple weeks ago when we watched those two pregame speeches from Greg Berhalter. And I don't think he's a bad guy. I mean, I think he's probably a good guy. I don't think he's a great motivator, obviously. And I think you and I agree that Berhalter is not the best motivator.
No.
X's and O's wise,
no.
How does Berhalter stack up against the other guys? You know, Bruce Arena, Jurgen Klinsmann, Bob Bradley, et cetera, et cetera.
That's the thing. If he was a great X's and O's guy, you could maybe forgive the fact that he's not a great motivator of men.
Okay.
Bob Bradley was like that.
Yes.
But then you watch a game like we watched against the Netherlands in the World Cup. That wasn't a motivation problem. Greg Berhalter got completely outcoached and he had no answer. There was no plan B. So he is not an X's and O's guy. He would make a great sporting director. Like, he's done a fantastic job of recruiting these dual nationals.
Okay.
He sets the tone for the team, I guess. He does a good job at that, but he's not a motivator and he's not an X's and O's guy. To me, he's got to go. Like, okay, for example, compare Greg Berhalter to the guy's name escapes me, the coach of France.
I'll look that up quickly.
Didier Deschamps is his name.
Oh, okay. All right.
And 2 weeks ago, they're sitting there trying to qualify for the Euros. He gives them a fine speech pregame, but then they come in at halftime. They're beating San Marino 7-0.
Oh my God.
You know, the normal coach or any other coach would say, okay, guys, you guys are doing great. There's no need to motivate your team at that point. But he went into the locker room and he told them, look, you guys are doing great. The record's 14 goals. Let's go beat it.
Oy.
You think Berhalter would ever do something like that? And they beat the record.
Oh, yeah, dude. No, of course not. He would never do that.
Exactly. And that's the killer mentality that you need to go into these games against France, against Argentina, against Brazil. You got to have that killer mentality, and he just doesn't have it. Hopefully, look, he learns from his mistakes and he fixes something, and we can make a run at Copa America. I'm rooting for that. I want the U.S. to do well, even under Berhalter. But right now, I don't see it, unfortunately.
What do you think? Because Berhalter, and I want people to understand the way soccer fans talk about Greg Berhalter is very similar. Or I guess this is a question to you. Yeah. Southgate, for example, out over in England, he catches a lot of heat. Is this the same narrative for all of the primary coaches for these international teams, or are there countries that say, hey, you know what, XYZ manager of the team, spot on. We obviously whoever coaches Argentina, he's a made man. He won a World Cup. Exactly. I imagine fans probably don't want him to go anywhere. But is our treatment of Greg Berhalter, is that pretty much the same across the board, or does it really depend upon your success?
I think it really depends about your success. Now, the difference between us and, say, Mexico or, say, Argentina or Brazil or any of these successful countries who we're trying to emulate is the pressure that's on these coaches. Berhalter has no pressure. Of course. The media, look, when you watch one of his press conferences, the media raises their hand, they get up, they get called on and say, Greg, thank you for your time. Thank you so much for doing this, blah, blah, blah. And they sit there and they suck up to this guy, and then they ask him a softball question. Because they know if you ask him a hard question, U.S. soccer is going to take your credentials away. That's the problem. In Mexico, look, in Mexico, you can come in as the greatest coach of all time. I'm sorry, you lose 3 games in a row, you're out.
Wow. And that, to me, is the main difference between U.S. soccer and international soccer. Absolutely. I think, you know, it's interesting. People make decisions to avoid bad consequences. I don't think there's any question about that with coaching, especially in the moment. You know, it's coming down to the wire, et cetera, et cetera. I think what makes coaches better is the fear of, oh my God, if we lose this match or if we don't have a good showing, I'm going to have to answer for this in the media. And that, believe it or not, that is actually the great motivator. So it appears to me that US Soccer wants to sort of stay away from the scrutiny that international soccer stars and coaches and managers normally sort of go through. But the United States, especially the media, seems very intent on throwing Greg Berhalter softball questions. So Berhalter, when he's in these moments, like for example against Trinidad and Tobago, he played terribly. He's not really motivated to make a change because he knows he's not going to be taken to task by the media.
No, look, he doesn't feel the need at this point. We're 5 years in to his tenure as U.S. head coach. The narrative should have changed by now. But when we go down to places, when we go down to places like Trinidad, when we go down to Mexico, when we go away from home within the region, these are games that we should never lose. It shouldn't be acceptable to even tie these games. We need to be beating these teams hands down with blindfolds on.
Yeah, agreed.
But the narrative is still the same. Oh, Greg, you lost. I'm sorry. What made this game so difficult? Oh, well, it's always tough to go down in CONCACAF where the field conditions are always varying and the weather.
Always an excuse.
No. I'm sorry. You think if Brazil goes down to Bolivia and they get curb stomped on a bad field with horrible weather, whatever,
doesn't matter.
You think the media is asking him about the field? No, you lost.
No.
What the hell happened?
Yeah, right. Right.
So until we get some media scrutiny, the coaches are never going to feel any pressure. The only pressure is going to come from people like me, from the fans.
Right.
And unfortunately, U.S. soccer is way too slow to react to us. So.
Failure and scrutiny, and a combination of those two consequences, those are a great motivator.
Absolutely.
People can fail, but if there are no consequences, then it's going to continue to fail. Mm-hmm. Listen, U.S. soccer it's in a good position. I think I don't know that I don't think we're the laughingstock internationally that we used to be, but again, the world, if we continue to be soft on these coaches, like you think how hard we are in NFL coaches, right? Like a Brandon Staley, dude, we're firing Brandon Staley every other week. Bill Belichick, we want to run him out of town. Mike Tomlin, future Hall of Fame head coach. They're talking about firing him in Pittsburgh, and he's never had a losing season. Yet here we have Greg Berhalter, who is clearly, I think he's got the capability, but we don't know that yet because he hasn't really shown it. And so I think the media has a lot to do with the U.S. men's national team not really reaching its full potential. When you bring in someone like a Jurgen Klinsmann who's used to the boiler room, German soccer, there's a reason why we performed better in 2014 and we ended up losing to the Netherlands, I think, it was Belgium with Vincent Kompany and the boys, but we had a really, really good showing. Tim Howard stood on his fucking head. People are putting Tim Howard. Those are the kinds of performances we need. And I'm still of the mind that Jurgen Klinsmann is the best coach that I've ever seen with U.S. soccer. And so when you bring in a guy like Berhalter, it's almost like he's a polar opposite of someone like Klinsmann. So it should come as no surprise that we appear to be underperforming during these all important tournaments. And a lot of that's going to carry over to the World Cup next year.
Yeah, not just that. Not only is he the polar opposite, Jurgen Klinsmann and Bob Bradley, even going back, these coaches got the U.S. team to be able to punch above their weight.
That's right.
Greg Berhalter hasn't done that. Now, we talk about the media scrutiny. It's funny you should say that because the only coach that the U.S. has ever had media scrutiny on, that the media constantly berated him, was Jurgen Klinsmann.
There you go.
Now, this is the same media run by the same MLS little cabal of Major League Soccer that hates to see dual nationals coming in, that they think everything should be all born in America and everybody should be American. American coaching American players, they're kind of purists. Well, I'm sorry, that's not the reality of the game. You're going to need a coach from time to time. Even Brazil's realizing that they finally need a foreign coach.
Yep.
That's why they're not looking within Brazil right now. So, it makes you wonder, this MLS marriage with U.S. soccer through a Soccer United marketing, thankfully it's coming to an end next year, and hopefully that opens up the door to some new things. But MLS is really a problem, and shout out to the Columbus Crew. They won MLS Cup last night. if
Yes.
anybody's
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Honestly, nobody really cares. MLS is a crap league right now.
Yeah. It is what it is. I remember watching the very first game of Major League Soccer, and I forget who the opponent was, but it might have been the San Jose Earthquakes.
San Jose Earthquakes. Eric Winalda scored a goal during that game. I watched.
That's right. That's exactly right. And that was the beginning of Major League Soccer. I remember me and my brothers watch. It was such a long time ago. My last thought on this whole Copa America Greg Berhalter situation is I remember when Alabama was searching for their next head coach, and they wanted a guy that was an Alabama man, a guy like Gene Stallings or a former coach or a former player, and they had failed time and time again. Then they said to themselves, who is the coach? Who at the time was the greatest coach in Alabama history? That, of course, was Paul Bear Bryant. He wasn't an Alabama man. He was a coach at Texas A&M before he came to Alabama. And so they decided to go outside the box and hire a guy from Texas A&M. And now Bear Bryant has a statue outside of, I forget what their name is, outside of Tuscaloosa, where the Crimson Tide play. So they go through all of this mediocrity. Finally, they said, you know what? We're going to expand the search. We're going to go outside of Alabama. We're not going to hire a Gene Stallings. We're going to hire the best man for the job. There's this guy who was at Michigan State, Nick Saban, who won a national championship with LSU a few years ago. He looks like he could be a pretty good coach. And 6 national championships later, Alabama is glad that they looked outside of the Alabama family to get their coach. I think U.S. Soccer would do well to heed the lessons learned by the University of Alabama. And I'll give you the last word on this.
Yeah, and sadly, we missed a great chance. We had right after the World Cup, there were so many coaches out there that we could have gone out and got. We could have got Jose Mourinho. We could have been in talks.
Oh, yes, I remember that.
We could have got what's his name? Martinez that coached Belgium. There was a million coaches that we could have out and got. Even Americans. You got Pellegrino Matarazzo coaching in Germany. He'd be a fantastic coach. This guy's coached in Europe. He's been through the pressure grinder of a league game. Yeah, and he's an American. Let's talk to him.
Yeah.
But no, unfortunately they waited 6 months and they put us through this fake of a search, which was fake. The search never happened.
Yeah, it was ridiculous because they settled on Berhalter again.
Yeah. And no, by evidence, look, they said that one of the names, because the media did get up there and ask them for names of people they interviewed. The one name that they gave was Hugo Perez down in El Salvador, who I wish we could have hired.
Really? I've never heard of that guy. Is he any good?
Yeah, he was a U.S. soccer player. He constantly has El Salvador playing above their weight. They're not a talented team, but he gets the most out of them. But after they asked him that question, they asked Hugo Perez, what was your talks like? But I never talked to them.
Oh, there you go. There it was. They mentioned his name. He's like, no, they didn't get a hold of me.
Yeah, they didn't reach out to me. So
look, man, like I said, I like Berhalter as a person. I think he could, and I think he's a very good talent evaluator. I think that if he's not going to be the coach, he could still have a position in the organization as a scout, player personnel director, et cetera, et cetera. I just don't think at this point, just like you said, guys like even Bruce Arena, as much maligned as he is, even Bruce Arena, got USA Soccer to sort of punch above our weight. But nothing like Bob Bradley, great motivator. Michael Bradley was a son, played on the team, and of course Jurgen Klinsmann.
Look, our biggest international success was under Bob Bradley when we reached the final of the Confederations Cup and almost beat Brazil.
Yep, and that would have been unbelievable.
Yeah, that would have been incredible.
All right, let us move to our next topic. And yesterday, the sports world was absolutely shocked when Shohei Ohtani signed a record contract with the Los Angeles Dodgers. They gave him, they're going to pay him $700 million over 10 years. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions on this. Let's go to Jay Blaze. What are your thoughts on $700 million? His annual salary is going to be $70 million. The next highest annual salary is 43. So he's almost doubled. He makes almost double what, the next highest paid player gets paid. So
Sorry,
what are your,
the 43, that's Patrick Mahomes, right?
no, we're talking in baseball.
Okay. Right.
And that is Max Scherzer. So
Okay.
so yeah, he is the highest paid player. Now he's the highest paid player in North American sports, making 70 million a year. I think Mahomes makes 43, but I think Burrow and Justin Herbert, I think, make 50. I know Jalen makes 51 and a half. Justin Herbert makes 52. I think Burrow makes 53. But
So
the
he's
point
more
is he's
famous
making
than
a lot of
Aaron
fucking
Rodgers.
money. He's making a lot of money, that's for sure. What are your thoughts on this, Jay Blaze?
So I think this is one of the mistakes baseball makes because you have a player locked down for 10 years. So think about what we're talking about with football. We have the Dak Prescott stuff where he's going to have his offseason contract negotiated this year, and that gives people things to talk about the sport. So because they have 4-year contracts, you have elite players coming up every 4 years.
Right.
But with baseball, they locked down Bryce Harper for 10 years.
Yep.
There's no talking about him unless he asks for a trade.
Right.
And then you have Shohei Ohtani, for 10 years. And then you have Mike Trout for 10 years. You have your top elite talent locked down for 10 years where you're not talking about them over the offseason.
And by the way, correction, Miami J, the next highest paid player in baseball is Mike Trout. He makes $43.5 million a year because he signed that 10-year, $435 million contract. And so yeah, just a quick correction on that. What are your thoughts on this, Miami J? $700 million over 10 years. Do you think it's worth it? Has it gone too far, or is this the market?
I think, look, if the market's bearing that salary, then the market's bearing that salary. We'll see about what players come after him. That'll tell us whether he's overpaid or not. If other players that are just as good as him start coming out and they start getting $70 million a year, then that's what the market's bearing. If not, right now, it's an absolute outlier.
Yeah, of course.
So
it is an outlier, but so is Shohei Ohtani. When
Right.
he is healthy, when that right arm is healthy, he is a perennial Cy Young Award candidate. He throws 101 miles an hour, devastating slider, wicked curve. It's unbelievable how good a pitcher he is, and he is even better at the plate. I think this year he hit 343. He hit I think 49 or 50 home runs, drove in 112 runs.
he's a pitcher.
Yes. He is literally two players in one. He is the two-time American League MVP. So not only is he an ace on the mound, he hits for power and he hits for average. He really is. He is the unicorn. And so, what do you pay for a top line starter in Major League Baseball? You pay him between 30 and 40 million a year. What do you pay a guy who is a slugger and gets on base and drives in? 35 to 40 million a year. So what do you do? What do you pay a guy who brings both of those to the table? You pay him 70 million per season. A lot of people might not like the number, but just like you, Miami J, the market bears it out. Is Shohei Ohtani worth $70 million a year? Yes. Otherwise, they would not have paid him $70 million a year. Now, is he a little bit overpaid? Yeah, he could be a little bit overpaid, but there's no salary cap in baseball. And to me, I think it's worth it. He went to the Los Angeles Dodgers, one of the preeminent blue blood franchises in American sports history. And I think he's going to be a megastar, but he's got to stay healthy. What you got, Blaze?
He's not pitching this year. No. I believe he had surgery on his elbow.
Yep. The UCL on his elbow. Yeah.
But don't they still have Mookie Betts with that massive contract?
Yep.
Dude, they're like the heel faction of the MLB.
They really, really are. And so they've got, the Dodgers now have by far the highest payroll in baseball. They got Mookie Betts' big deal. Freddie Freeman, they gave him, I think, 5 years, $250 million. Like, dude, Clayton Kershaw makes $31 million a year. I think they just settled an arbitration for 25. So the Dodgers have the biggest payroll in baseball, but this is exactly why there is a salary cap in football and in basketball. There's no salary cap in hockey. The rich get richer in baseball. If you're a small market team like the Pittsburgh Pirates or the Seattle Mariners or the Kansas City Royals. You didn't see any of those mentioned in the running. The three teams that were in the running were the Angels, the Dodgers, and the Blue Jays. I don't know where they were going to get the money to pay him that kind of cash, but because there is no salary cap in baseball, all of the best players play for the teams that have the most money, and this is another example of the rich getting richer.
So the issue I have with this is you have the Yankees from like the 90s and early 2000s where they were trying to pay for talent too.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until they were getting some young like high character guys to like build around. So it's tough like just throwing a bunch of money at people and not having those grinders there. And I'm just curious if the Dodgers have those grinders that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I remember those Yankees teams of the late 90s. The Yankees team that won in 1996, it wasn't a star-studded team. You had grizzled veterans, Paul O'Neill, Andy Pettitte, Jorge Posada, Bernie Williams, not Charlie Ward, Charlie Hayes was on that team, Scott Brocious. These were, Derek Jeter was a rookie in 1996. They had a bunch of, and Paul O'Neill had plenty of experience. He came over from Cincinnati. And so they end up winning, I think, 4 World Series in 5 years. I think they ended up winning 3 in a row. Mariano Rivera became the greatest closer in history. But when the Yankees started bringing in the big time names like Jason Giambi, they could never really get over the hump. But the Dodgers were already a good team. They're in the World Series it seems like the World Series every other year is the Dodgers and Astros. And so while I agree you can't buy a World Series, you can sometimes, because the 97 Marlins, they bought a World Series and then sold off the team. Then the 03 Marlins did it again with Josh Beckett, ended up trading him to Boston the very next season.
Hey,
so
don't badmouth the 03 Marlins.
Say again?
Don't badmouth the 03 Marlins.
No, dude. The 03 Marlins, dude. I'm going to tell you what, man. The 03 Marlins, a lot of people forget about the 03 Marlins, but the reason why the 03 Marlins won, among other reasons, was because of Josh Beckett. Josh Beckett was an absolute ace all throughout the playoffs. He was untouchable, shut down the Yankees, shut down the Giants. It was unbelievable. Or he shut down the Giants and he shut down, I think, the Cubs as well. And that's why Josh Beckett ended up going over to Boston, who was instrumental the very next year in that 03 comeback to beat the Yankees in the playoffs.
Yeah, but the reason that 03 team came together in the first place was because they did buy the series in 97.
Yes.
And all those prospects they got from selling off that team, that's the main team that won in 03.
That makes sense. And then, of course, Wayne Huizinga was a fire sale after that. Ken Rose with the $2 Rumble rant. Apollo wants to know, this is a good question. I'll ask the both of you, and then we'll move to the next topic here. He says, how long do you think he'll be able to pitch and hit for? That's a very good question. What do you think, Blaze?
I think he can bat, especially since didn't they change the DH rules?
Yeah, you can be a DH in both leagues now, the American League and the National League.
He can do that for a while, but dude, that elbow surgery would worry me with the pitching.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, he just throwing 100 miles an hour, it's gonna. I think he's gonna get to a point where he can't throw as hard, and so he might have to learn a few more junk pitches. But I think the pitching could be an issue, so that's why I would pay him up front more.
Yeah, I think it probably is a front-loaded deal. As far as pitching is concerned, he's not going to pitch in 24, but I think when he comes back in 25, I think if you're not an avid baseball fan, then one would think that having elbow surgery or some sort of rotator cuff, one would think that would negatively affect pitchers. It doesn't. Jose Fernandez, God rest his soul, had 2 Tommy John surgeries before the age of 24. He was throwing 99 miles an hour before he did a bunch of blow and ended up crashing his boat and splattered himself and his friends. John Smoltz got Tommy John surgery and a UCL tear, and he ended up becoming one of the greatest closers in history. He's still the only pitcher in Major League Baseball with 200 wins and 200 saves. Roger Clemens, Clayton Kershaw, Steven Strasburg. Elbow surgeries don't appear. You can go to the NFL. Brock Purdy, Hassan Reddick, he tore his UCL. when Hassan Reddick came around, Brock Purdy is throwing the ball with more velocity. Now, throwing a baseball overhand, that's not a natural motion, and that's why the the elbow, there's a lot of unnecessary torque on that. But I think now it's going to take him a while to get back to his form. But when Shohei Ohtani takes the mound again, I think he's going to be as good, if not better. And I think that's why the Los Angeles Dodgers had no problem saying, hey, we'll pay you $700 million over 10 years. We know when you recover from the surgery, you're going to be even better. We know you can hit for power. You don't need your UCL to swing the bat. So we're going to go ahead and give it to you. I'll give you guys the last word on this before we move on.
I was going to say, I don't think the surgery is as big a concern for his longevity as being a hitter is. He won't last as long as most pitchers because he's in there hitting day in, day out. That's just, usually you see these pitchers 2 days after a start, their arms still iced up and they're not moving.
Oh, yeah.
So if he's going to be out there hitting, then, that might cut down a season or two of his top pitching. But
no, I agree.
I'm not a big baseball guy, but if he's as impressive as you guys say, I don't think baseball's ever seen a player like that.
No, you are absolutely right. Baseball has never, ever seen a player like this. I don't know. I mean, it's easy to say that we probably never will, but if we do, it's gonna be amazing because no one has ever seen anyone who can throw 100 miles an hour and hit a baseball 440 feet. It just doesn't work that way. What are your final thoughts on this particular topic, Blaze?
I'll always remember that A-Rod long contract. I just don't see them working.
Yeah,
because eventually the player just kind of hits the skids around like 7 or 8 years in, and you're just going, dude, we haven't for that locked down for that long. And I think they should get back into signing 4-year deals, get them back into the market where you can actually generate stories. Because did anyone hear about like anything about this beforehand? Like
no, and I think the reason for that is because Ohtani's people wanted to keep it on the low. As a matter of fact, at the winter meetings, Dave Roberts actually accidentally let slip that they had met with Ohtani's representation. And Ohtani's camp was like, look, we don't want anybody to know anything. But this just goes to what we were saying. We knew he was going to go to the Dodgers. Even when Dave Roberts screwed the pooch and mentioned something, they still ended up signing that record deal.
Yeah, this is why baseball isn't as popular as basketball or football, because they don't create headlines. Like it's just it amazes me.
So Bernie Troth says the only thing with him going to the Dodgers, he's not a position player. So you're really taking the bat out of his hands and you're only getting a really good hitting pitcher every 5 days. That is incorrect, Bernie Troth. The DH in the National League is now permanent. So he is going to play, even though he's not going to pitch next season, they will absolutely hit him in the DH because the DH is now legal in the National League. I think they tried it for 2 years. Clearly it works. If not for the DH, the Phillies would not have been in the World Series last year, and we would not have been in playoffs this year because Bryce Harper got hurt both years, but we were able to keep him in the lineup because of the DH. So just make sure we have our facts straight there. Final thoughts on the record-breaking contract signed by Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, good.
Okay. Last thing I will say is we talked about the salary cap there for a minute. I wish Major League Soccer would eliminate the salary cap because it's pathetic.
Really?
Yeah, it's like $6 million.
Oh my God, that's nothing.
Yeah.
I think bonuses will find a way around it.
You can't get world-class talent down here. They have the designated player rule, but you can't get real talent to build a real team.
Sure. Okay, very good.
Oh, wait, sorry. Are we live on YouTube or is it another channel?
Yeah, we're live on Donovan Sharp, etc. I'm trying to build up the audience there. Yeah, anytime I stream to my main channel, I'll lose 50 to 60 subscribers because that's not a sports talk channel.
Sure.
But we'll like I said, we'll continue to build the audiences in other places. I'm actually looking to get a Kick account and also stream live on Instagram. So I'm looking to expand it a little bit. Let's talk a little bit. I'd like to give you guys my thoughts, and you guys may or may not have heard this when I addressed it earlier in the week. Is the 2024 college football playoff bracket? I think the committee absolutely got. I think multiple things can be true here. Number one, Florida State absolutely did get jobbed. Okay, they got screwed. It is what it is. They are an undefeated They're an undefeated They were an undefeated conference champion. They won their conference championship game and they were undefeated. But by the same token, the committee still got it right. Both things in this particular situation can be true. Here's the bottom line, guys. Do the people in Tallahassee have a gripe? No, they don't. They don't have a gripe. And the reason they don't have a gripe is because the trustees, the NCAA, the powers that be in college football, they signed up for this. Okay. There is something in the college football playoff bylaws that says that the committee can consider the active roster when deciding on who to put in the playoffs. And this is why Florida State is out. Florida State is clearly a different team with Jordan Travis on the field, number one. Number two, yes, they were undefeated, but they struggled to beat Wake Forest, number one. And number two, in their conference title game against Louisville, the score was 3-0 at half. Here's another question I'd like to ask you guys. Does anybody really want to see Michigan play Florida State? Does anybody really want to see, outside of Tallahassee and Ann Arbor, does anybody want to really see Michigan absolutely boat race the Florida State Seminoles without Jordan Travis in the first half? If it were Michigan versus Florida State, like it really should be, that first game is the Rose Bowl is going to be an absolute joke and a dumpster fire. Then, of course, people say, well, ESPN did this because they want an SEC team in. Yes, that's exactly why they did it. This is a TV show, gentlemen. And a lot of people say, well, the only reason why they did this is for the ratings. Guys, that's the name of the game. That's how they play. That's how they pay the bills. Like it or not, this is how it is. Yes, Florida State got screwed over, but yes, the committee got it right. No one wants to. And by the way, guess who Florida State plays in the Outback Bowl or whatever? They play Georgia. They're going to lose that game by 5 touchdowns because they don't have their quarterback, Jordan Travis. I liken this complaint to people in the red pill community. Florida State should have gotten into the college playoff. Why? Because they handled their business on the field. They didn't lose a game all year, and they won their conference title game. Modern women should reward men for gentlemanly behavior, especially when men treat them well. They treat them with respect. They send them morning after texts and all that other kind of stuff. But here's the problem. The college football playoff is inherently flawed. It shouldn't be this way, but that's the way it is. That's what they signed up for. And what should be and what is are two different things. It's literally the same thing with modern dating. Yes, women should reward gentlemanly behavior, but they don't. And so we do what we need to do to be successful. I think a lot of people want to talk about fairness, and this is not fair. Life isn't fair. Yes, it sucks for Florida State, and my heart goes out to the people in Tallahassee. But like I said, the 2023-2024 college football playoff is a TV show. Nobody wants to see Michigan. Nobody wants to see Michigan against Florida State. We would much rather see Michigan against Alabama. So what should be and what is are always two very different things. It sucks for the people in Tallahassee, but that's the way it is.
Yep.
What are you guys' thoughts on this?
I'll say this. First, I'm a Gator fan, so anytime Florida State cries is a good day for me. But I will say this, like when they had announced the third team, once they announced Texas, did people in Tallahassee really think that they were going to go over the SEC champion? We know the SEC champion, even if they have 4 losses, the SEC champion is going to be in the playoff.
Yes.
I don't care who they are. They're
That's
always
right.
going to be there. So if they really had, when they saw there were top 3 teams with not an SEC team in there, did they really think they were going to get it over an SEC team? No. I mean, come on. They couldn't possibly have thought that they deserved the number 4 slot. Maybe they deserved it. I don't know if they deserved it, but they were never going to get it.
The system is inherently flawed. I think we can all agree on that. You have an undefeated Power 5 conference champion. They should be in the playoff. However, the bylaws explicitly state that they can absolutely make a decision based on they can actually based on the roster. Now, a lot of people might point back to the very first college football playoff. You guys remember the whole debate between Baylor and TCU? Well, Baylor had beaten TCU, but TCU had a much harder schedule. Well, what happened in the Big Ten title game? Urban Meyer, Ezekiel Elliott, and Cardale Jones, the third string quarterback for Ohio State, by the way, went into Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship game and dump trucked them 59-0. And that's what leapfrogged them. And a lot of people are saying, well, that could happen with Florida State. It could have happened with Florida State, but it didn't. Ohio State handled their business. They won 59-0. Florida State won that game. What was it? 6-3, 17-14 or something like that. Look, man, what is and what should be are two different things. Unfortunately and look, we're going to 12 teams next season for sure. And we can make all the comparisons and talk about what should be and what not. College football signed up for this. You guys were the people who gave these 13 to 14 individuals the power to decide the 4 best college football teams. And to me, it's not about the most deserving. It's about the best. And when you look at Florida State on the field, you cannot in good faith say that Florida State is one of the 4 best teams in the country without their Heisman Trophy candidate, Jordan Travis. And anyone who argues otherwise is being disingenuous. Blaze, I'll give you the last word on this.
Well, guess what? I'll just say real quick.
Go ahead.
What? We're gonna go to 12 teams next year. 12 teams next year. And the 2 teams that happen to get screwed at 13 and 14, they're still going to be bitching, and we're still going to have this conversation.
There you go.
It's really not going to fix much.
It's I think it is going to fix a few things, but the difference is the teams that are going to be bitching and moaning that they didn't get into the playoffs are going to be less consequential. Sure. When you're talking about the top 4, yeah, the 5th team that gets left out or the number 4 team, that's going to be controversial. When you take it to 8, it's going to be controversial, but a little less. You take it to 12, okay, it'll be controversial, but we're not going to be talking about Florida State, TCU, or we're not going to be talking about Florida State or Washington or Alabama. No, we're going to be talking about teams like Oklahoma State or a TCU or maybe even a Colorado, and those teams are just not as good right now. Blaze, I'll give you the last word.
I think it comes down to 2 factors where you had you're going to get better ratings for Michigan, Alabama, and this is completely a TV show.
Yes,
like they need ratings to get the NIL and stuff. And the other thing, Alabama had their best win against Georgia the last week, and it was just all timing. Because if Georgia wins that game, they're in.
I totally agree. And Alabama, 1-loss team. They're a 1-loss SEC championship team who ended a 29-game winning streak of the 2-time defending national champions. Yeah, Alabama absolutely needs to be in the college football playoff, because I'll tell you this. If Alabama plays Florida State as constructed, Alabama wins that game by 3 touchdowns, easy, and it's probably over by the first half.
And look, I think a lot of fans of the other conferences I think they're honestly, and I've had this conversation a million times going back years, they're in denial as to how good the SEC really is.
Yes.
The SEC can do it on its own. They don't need the NCAA.
They do not.
Far and ahead better than any other conference.
Do you think, let me ask you this, Jay Blaze, because you seem to be very astute on the economics of sports. Because Miami J mentioned something very, very pertinent there, very poignant. He says the SEC doesn't need the NCAA. I would submit to you that college football doesn't need the NCAA. I think that college football needs to privatize, get away from the NCAA, who seems to want to punish people for the dumbest shit. What are your thoughts, Jay Blaze? Do you think college football needs the NCAA? And if they don't, will they ever split from the NCAA?
I think because we saw the Harbaugh issue earlier this year, I think we're going to get to a point where the SEC will just say, hey, screw you guys. We're just going to do our own thing.
Yep.
We don't need you. And eventually, like they're like a boss that is kind of trying to give their own power, which they've been like basically shut out of the company, but they still want to give that little bit of authority, but they don't have anything to hold against you.
Yeah, it's like the only reason why they're in charge is because people said they're in charge, but they're kind of useless at this point. I don't really know what purpose the NCAA serves other than to really punish people for dumb shit. I really don't know what else it is.
I think part of it is to take money from them and give it to the female sports.
That's you 1000%. That's absolutely one of the elements without a doubt. Now that I can definitely endorse.
Yeah,
what do you think, do you think this will separate from the NCAA, or do you think it's a college football wide thing?
I would love to see it. I think you would actually throw some competition out there, and the SEC is going to put a much better product out on the field than the NCAA ever could.
You know it, yeah.
And by the way, anybody who denies that football pays for all the other sports is absolutely delusional.
Unbelievable, dude. billion-dollar sport, man.
Actually, you could kind of make it a Super Bowl scenario where now you have your NCAA champion, now you have your SEC champion. Let's see who's better. That'd be
Ah,
kind of cool to see.
almost like an NFC, almost like
Yeah,
an
yeah.
NFL, AFL type of thing, right?
I think you could put every conference together. I still don't think they can beat the SEC.
I agree. I think the SEC. I mean, dude, the
It's just
SEC
far away.
West, Alabama and Georgia. Like Jesus Christ, like two of the dude. Alabama and Georgia have won the last three college football.
And
the
it's
last
always
three champions have come from one conference in one division.
and it's always the SEC always just reloads because when Georgia's not good, then Florida will come up. When Alabama drops down, LSU comes up. The SEC always has somebody just dominating the country.
And oh, by the way, the SEC next season will add Texas and Oklahoma. It's gonna get to a point. Yeah, it's gonna get to a point to where I think it's already going to get to a point to where in college football, there's going to be an NFC and there's going to be an AFC versus NFC type deal. I don't know how the conferences will align, but I do know that the SEC is going to be an NFC or an AFC team.
Look, going undefeated in college football is hard. It's very doable, but it's hard. Once you add Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC, if they were keeping the 14 playoff format, I could see a playoff with 4 SEC teams.
There you go. And that's exactly why they expanded it to 12. Yeah. I think they expanded it to 12 because of what you said right there. Texas, dude, oh my God. Oklahoma, Texas, Alabama, Georgia. Who else is in the SEC? Dude, Auburn is
Florida, LSU.
Dude, Florida. I mean, oh my, and Jordan Travis just won the Heisman Trophy last night. Yeah, it's going to be, listen, college football, I think college football is going to be the second biggest sport in America here very soon. It's going to be the NFL, then it's going to be college football, and then everybody else.
I thought it already was. I think college football.
You thought what already was?
College football, I think, is bigger than the NBA, isn't it?
College football is bigger than the NBA. Well, you know what? Yeah, it is bigger than the NBA.
It is number 2 in the country.
It might be number 2 already. Shit, man.
Hey,
it's already come true.
Could we get to a point where if you have that break off from the NCAA, could we get a point where all the other teams just do a spring?
Yeah.
And that would open up a lot more viewing options. And you'd still have a better product than most sports.
Wait, what'd you say was the last thing you said?
You'd have it would open up more viewing options if you moved the NCAA without all those other schools to the spring. And that would
wow.
That would increase ratings.
Wow. That would dude, I think that would probably double the ratings, to be honest with you. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they're talking about doing something like that already, or if that's actually pretty ingenious. Who knows? But listen, man, if the NCAA is involved, it's not going to happen. You want to know why? Because it just makes too much goddamn sense. And the NCAA is allergic to things that make sense. You guys know how that goes. Yeah. This to me is a very interesting topic. So Jay Blaze sent us this link from NFL.com entitled Pittsburgh Steelers Possible Firing of Coach Mike Tomlin Triggered by Patriots and Bill Belichick. Let's read this article. Did the New England Patriots just get Mike Tomlin, an institution with the Pittsburgh Steelers for almost as long as Bill Belichick has been in Foxborough, fired? The Steelers remain in playoff contention, if only barely, following their embarrassing home loss on Thursday to the lowly Patriots. That failure makes it back-to-back stinkers for Tomlin and company, who the week before lost to the have-not Arizona Cardinals. That's consecutive losses to 2-10 teams, both at home. And now it's not just fans who have tired of Tomlin in Pittsburgh, even though he's never had a losing season there. Smart media people are now reserving seats on the anti-Tomlin bandwagon. It's time, writes the Beaver County Times. These next 4 games should be the last ones he coaches for the Steelers. He hasn't been a very good coach here for at least a few years now. 50% chance. Said the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette's Ray Fittipaldo in a radio spot. There is a crossroads here. Coach Mike Tomlin should be fired the minute this wasted Steelers season ends, writes the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Enough with adhering to religiously what daddy and granddaddy did. When the coach deserves to be fired, fire him. Never changing coaches is supposed to give the Steelers stability. Do these Steelers look stable to you? Indeed, the proud Steelers franchise might be just about to endure a 7th straight season without a playoff win. And while there's no joy in Mudville or Foxborough over the Patriots being good enough, if only for a moment, to make Tomlin inept. This person is whoever he's trying too hard with all of this clever wordplay. Yet, yes, losing to the Cardinals and these Patriots in a 4-day span at home looks awful on Tomlin's resume. Bill Belichick is he's an institution, but that doesn't mean he keeps his job forever. And if Belichick isn't forever, why should Tomlin be? Okay. Jay Blaze, what are your thoughts? Do you think Mike Tomlin should be fired, or what do you think about this?
Well, I think because of the press conferences and everything, and I think everyone has a high opinion of Tomlin. But dude, eventually you get to a point where you have diminishing returns just through your message not being as relevant to the the team. And dude, he's had like kind of diminishing returns ever since he like entered, because dude, he took a team that was constructed by Bill Cowher, and he got 2 Super Bowls early, and he hasn't really
he got 2 Super Bowls yet.
Have they been really contenders like since that kind of era went away? You had a couple with Tony O'Brien. Yeah. And so a lot of this is I don't think they have a good like a great quarterback.
Yeah.
And you need a coach to like overpower, but the problem is I think Tomlin gets scooped up very quickly if he leaves the Steelers. Like the guy from the Panthers will do anything to get him. And so it's tough, because you might have a coach that would do a lot better like in just a fresh environment, but yeah.
Okay. What are your thoughts, Miami Jane?
Yeah, I don't think this should happen. I think he's built up enough equity to at least have 1 losing season on his record.
Yeah.
But if he does get fired, absolutely, he becomes the top coaching candidate for every team out there.
Okay.
And in a minute, we're going to talk about how attractive coaching jobs are. If Tomlin gets fired, Pittsburgh becomes the most attractive coaching job out there as well.
Yeah, I agree. Tomlin's not going anywhere. This is one big fucking nothing burger. It's a big nothing burger. The Steelers, they lost 2 games in a row. They're 7-6. You've got a coach that does not have a losing record.
Yeah.
Look, man, I think the media, they're looking for clicks or whatever the case may be. You don't fire a coach because of a 2-game losing streak. That's just not how it goes. Now, Pittsburgh has struggled over the last few years, and I think the main reason for that is because Mike Tomlin is offensively inept, which is fine. So is Brandon Staley. So is Bill Belichick. The difference is that Brandon Staley has Kellen Moore. Brandon Staley has Kevin Moore. The problem there is that the defense is the defense is not playing well, so Kellen Moore has to change his play calling. Whereas with Bill Belichick, you had Josh McDaniels, Bill O'Brien. You can be a defensive head coach. Robert Saleh has his side of the ball taken care of. You can be a defensive head coach, but the way to expand or lengthen your tenure is to hire a better offensive coordinator. He needs to get a better offensive coordinator. He needs to get a better quarterback. I don't think Kenny Pickett is the answer there, but Mike Tomlin possibly being fired by the Steelers is abso-fucking-lutely asinine. And if you fire Mike Tomlin, who are you going to bring in there? What are you going to bring in? Brandon Staley? You're going to bring in Ron Rivera? You're going to bring in one of these retreads? You're going to bring a young offensive coordinator coach who doesn't know anything yet? It's absolutely ridiculous. There's a reason why the Pittsburgh Steelers are one of the most consistent franchises in NFL history. They only have 3 head coaches: Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and now Mike Tomlin. I think in this new age, this microwave society, I think it's absolutely dumb that this dumbass writer said, is it time for the Pittsburgh Steelers to fire Mike Tomlin? We haven't had a playoff win in 7 years. Yeah, but you're still in the playoffs fairly consistently. What, you want to end up like the Tennessee Titans? You want to be like what's another? You want to end up like the Cleveland Browns who go through coaches? You want to be the Carolina Panthers who have gone through 5 coaches maybe in the last 5 minutes? No, this is absolutely stupid. And I can't stand it when everybody wants to fire someone after a 2-game losing streak. This is dumb. It's idiotic. Mike Tomlin's not going anywhere. And if he does, just like Blaze said, his phone is probably blowing up now with teams like, hey man, if the Pittsburgh Steelers let you go, we got a spot here for you.
Hey, you don't fire a coach after a 2-game losing streak unless
No.
you're U.S. Soccer and your name is Jurgen Klinsmann. Then you fire him.
Very good. Very good. I like that. Very, very good. The NFL playoff picture. Let's quickly go through these because it is almost time for kickoff, and then we're going to go through our game picks. So, the big game tonight, and by the way, the Philadelphia Eagles are playing their sixth game of the year. Dallas, Philadelphia won game of the year. Kansas City, Philly, game of the year. Buffalo, Philly was going to be the game of the year, but Buffalo came in struggling a little bit. That actually ended up being the best game that we played in quite some time, even though we struggled defensively. But Josh Allen is Superman. And here San Francisco 49ers, game of the year. And here we are, Dallas, Philadelphia, game of the year.
Don't forget Miami, Philadelphia was the game of the year, too.
Miami, Philadelphia was the game of the year. Here's the thing. Even if the Eagles lose tonight, we're still going to win the NFC East because we still have all the tiebreakers against the Dallas Cowboys. So I think the Eagles are playing with a little less pressure. Yes, not only that, we just got curb stomped by the San Francisco 49ers. So as far as the playoff picture is concerned, I think it's a 2-horse race. It's going to be San Francisco versus Philly. Philly is finishing up their tough part of the schedule, and then we finally, get a little bit of a reprieve with the Giants, the Cardinals, and then the Giants again. Miami is in first place. They're going to be the number 1 overall seed. I think Miami ends up as the number 1 seed. So, Jay Blaze, give me your NFC playoff picture update. How do you see things shaking out here in the future?
I think it's either going to be, dude, that division's a train wreck, but the Saints maybe replace the Falcons, or you have Baker Mayfield doing a late run, because I think that division's like completely up for grabs. I think whoever's winning that gets knocked out in the first round. Dallas, dude, Dak needs this game to even sniff an MVP. I think if he beats Philly at home, I think the MVP is his. I think this is I think this is very consistent to what we should be seeing in the playoffs.
Okay, Miami J, what are your thoughts on the NFC playoff picture? How do you see it shaking out?
The NFC, I agree with Blaze. Maybe Atlanta's out of there, but I think it's pretty stable. I don't see Detroit. Obviously, the division leaders, they're not changing rankings.
Right.
I think they're going to stay exactly as they are. Green Bay might slip out of there, but I don't really see a viable team to replace them. But I think the NFC side's pretty stable.
Okay, let's talk a little bit. I gave my NFC. I think it's a 2-horse race. I think it's the Niners and the Eagles. If the Eagles win tonight, we're going to be the number 1 seed. We've just about like there's a 99% chance, I think, against according to some analytics, that the Eagles still have a 99% chance to win the NFC East with a win. Even if we lose, it's still a 72% chance we win the NFC East. And so if we do play the Cowboys in the playoffs, it's going to be in Philadelphia. So I think Dallas is under tremendous pressure.
I will say that if they continue their hot streak, I think you try and avoid the Green Bay Packers at all costs.
Yes.
If you're a team,
they are absolutely dangerous. Absolutely. In the AFC, I think the Miami Dolphins are going to end up getting the number 1 seed. I think Kansas City is not nearly as good as they were last year. We're seeing regression with the Chiefs and the Eagles. The difference is the Eagles, we have so much talent. We haven't even played good football yet, and we're still 10-2. We're probably going to be the number 1 overall seed. The Miami Dolphins were 8-3 at this time last season, and they lost every game in December and had to win on the last day to get into the playoffs. Well, guess what? They went into Washington, they took care of business, and now they're the number, and they have a win in December. So I think Miami needs the number 1 seed. So what are your thoughts, Miami J, on the AFC side?
Yeah, Miami's notorious for losing in December, but this year feels different. Just that Washington win alone felt very different. I think Miami does hold on to the number 1 seed, not necessarily by virtue of their schedule, because they do have a pretty tough one, but Baltimore has a much tougher schedule.
Yes.
They play San Francisco, they play the Jaguars, the Steelers, everything. So Baltimore's got a pretty tough schedule coming up. So I think Miami holds on. Jacksonville and KC, they're not going anywhere. KC may overtake Baltimore for the number 2 seed, but not
Yeah.
the number 1 seed. And
Let me
the
ask
other
you something.
two teams, Cleveland, Indianapolis, and Houston, they're nowhere near set. Those teams could be anybody.
Oh my God, Jesus!
There's a lot of teams right there in the hunt for that. So that could be.
I think the same could be said about the NFC. I think 1, 2, and 3, it's going to be some order of Dallas, Philadelphia, San Francisco. It's anybody's guess what's going to happen, with the bottom 4 seeds. Let me ask you something, Blaze, and I'll come to you with this, Miami J. Which team in the NFC needs home field advantage, and which team in the AFC needs that number 1 seed? What are your thoughts there?
Dallas needs a home field
100%
in the playoffs.
Yep,
100%.
Yeah, Dallas.
And what about the AFC side?
KC, I would say, yeah, I think Miami has a big advantage having home field just through the heat of Miami.
100%.
I don't think a lot of the cold. Yeah, I think it's Miami that needs it.
Okay, very good. What are your thoughts, Miami J? Who do you think needs home field in the NFC? Who do you think needs it in the AFC?
I agree. Miami needs it in the AFC. Kansas City as well. I actually think San Francisco is really they need that. They would need that home field advantage. Yeah.
Okay. And that would be a home field advantage. This is why the Niners were so good in the 80s and the early and late 90s, is because, and Seattle as well, West Coast teams in the playoffs tend to do very well in the playoffs because your body clock is being sped up by 3 hours.
Now, another team, I don't think they need it because they've done quite well on the road this year, but they haven't had playoff appearance in forever. I think the Detroit Lions would benefit.
Ooh, that's a good one. That is a good one.
I think they would benefit greatly.
I agree with Jay Blaze that the Dallas Cowboys need home field advantage. They are not the same team outside of Dallas, and I think it's environmental too. Dallas, and I pointed this out 2 years ago. The Cowboys don't look as fast on natural grass. They just don't. For whatever reason, they don't. Tyreek Hill is fast on any surface. The Cowboys are just a slower team on natural grass. So in that fast track in Dallas, yeah, I think they need home field advantage to be sure. On the AFC side, I think I agree with you, Miami J. I think the Dolphins need home field advantage. I can't see the Dolphins going into Kansas City or a Baltimore or even Jacksonville and getting a win on the road. I can't see that, but I can absolutely see Miami beating any team at home in the playoffs. Okay,
and Patrick Mahomes has never played a playoff game.
Never played a road playoff game. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes has never played a road playoff game. Eventually, he's going to have to, but I mean, if you don't have to, why do it? All right, let us move to. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I said if you can get away with that.
Yeah, shit. I mean, I'd want to play in Miami as well.
I will say the AFC playoff picture is a lot fresher because we're seeing a lot of teams that we haven't seen in a while.
Yeah.
So because of the QB injuries, but.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Indianapolis. Dude, Indianapolis, Houston, Cleveland.
When's the last time we talked about Cleveland this late in the season being in the playoff picture?
Dude, it's been a while. The last time Baker Mayfield was there a few years back where they went into Pittsburgh and dump truck the Steelers. So that's a good point that Blaze just made.
I do want Denver to get in the playoff picture because I think Denver could surprise some teams. I don't see Cleveland, Indy, or I think Houston's a good story, but I don't see Indy or Cleveland surprising any teams. But Denver could.
If Denver makes the playoff after the start they had, that would be a hell of a good story.
Yeah.
Okay, Jay Blaze just came up with a new topic there. What is the most dangerous bottom 4 seed in each conference? Let's start with the NFC. Who's the most dangerous? Okay, so Green Bay, says Jay Blaze.
Green Bay.
I agree. Yep, I think Green Bay. What about the AFC?
I think Houston.
Denver.
To me, it's a toss-up between Denver and Houston. And guess what? Denver and Houston play today. So that should, that'll be a decisive.
Yeah, that'll tell us a lot.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think anybody wants to see Green Bay in the playoffs, man. They're playing surprisingly, and Jordan Love is making progress right before our very eyes, man. So keep an eye.
Playing for a contract.
How about this one? Who's the weakest top 4 seed?
AFC.
AFC,
because we've got
Jacksonville.
Who's the weakest team in the AFC?
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville, yeah.
Well, I think it would have to be Miami. Who's number 2? Baltimore, no. KC, no. Yeah, Jacksonville. Yeah.
Jacksonville and
That's
Atlanta.
pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. Who are the weakest teams in the NFC?
Atlanta.
The top 3 seeds. I'm thinking
Can we
Cowboys,
take out the
maybe?
AFC, NFC South? That's the easy one.
Then in that case, I would be
Atlanta. Oh yeah, never mind. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah, but if you take out Atlanta, then probably Detroit. It'd
Yeah.
be a toss between Detroit and San Francisco.
Apollo
If
says
it's at-
Detroit and the Jags.
If it's away, I would say Dallas.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Wow, good discussion there. All right, let us get to the game picks. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 12 games today, including two tomorrow night. So we've got 14 games. The Arizona Cardinals and the Washington Commanders have bye weeks. Let's talk about the very first game here. Let's go. So it's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers against the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons, 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 39.5, which is surprisingly low. Blaze, how do you see this one playing out?
I like the Buccaneers. I just trust Baker Mayfield more than the Atlanta Falcons.
Okay, and over-under.
I'm going to go with the over.
Okay, so you're taking Atlanta. So you're taking Tampa Bay to cover and the over. What about you, Miami, Jay?
I'll take Tampa Bay as well, and I'll take the over. This is the classic division. Nobody wants to win this division.
Right,
No.
right.
So, yeah. So I think they're going to fight it out till the last minute. I think Tampa Bay wins it.
3 for 3. I think Tampa Bay wins. I think they cover. I'm definitely going to take the over. Baker Mayfield is still nursing, I think, an ankle sprain from a couple of weeks ago and a loss against, I think, the Houston Texans. But yeah, I think Baker takes his guys in there. And just like Jay Blaze said, I trust Baker Mayfield a lot more than I trust Desmond Ritter / Taylor Heineke. I think that that goes without saying. Our next game, the Detroit Lions against the Chicago Bears. The Lions laying 3.5 points. 43.5 is the over under. Jay Blaze, who you taking and who you got the over under?
The Bears have been playing better, but I'm going to take the Lions, and I'll do the under.
Okay, all right, taking the under. What about you, Miami Jay?
I'll take Detroit to cover of the 3.5, and I'll actually take the over. I think Detroit's going to boat race.
Yeah, I think Detroit wins this game 35-14. I think they got a wake-up call on Thanksgiving. I'm going to take the Lions to cover, and I'm going to take the over. Apollo says the Bucks win, and he says Detroit wins a close one. Now, he also asked a question. He says, if the Rams beats Baltimore today, will they sneak into the wild card? What do you think about that? What do you think about that, Jay Blaze? Do you think with a win today at Baltimore, do the Rams have a legitimate playoff shot?
So they would have to overcome, I think, Minnesota.
Yep.
That would be tough, but dude, Minnesota does not have like a good quarterback. So yeah, you could see the Rams make I think they have a good shot.
Okay. What about you,
get the
Miami
wild
Jay?
cards?
The question is, can the Rams make it?
Yes. So let me give you the Rams upcoming schedule. I should have given that.
I got it right here. They got the Ravens, Commanders, Saints, Giants, and Niners. Yeah, they could definitely sneak.
That's an easy one.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah. They're not going to beat the Niners, but I think the only 2 games they could lose are against the Niners, and today against the Ravens. All of the other games are winnable.
They got the Niners the last week of the season. If the Niners are clinched and they're set at their playoff picture,
good point. Good.
Yeah,
point.
I think the Rams can definitely sneak in.
So the Rams getting into the playoffs may very well have to be contingent upon where San Francisco is. If San Francisco can neither advance or lose position, they're just going to sit everybody. But if they're playing for a possible number 1 overall seed, then yeah, I think that could definitely be. I think that could definitely be a factor. Wow, very good point.
I don't think might happen. I think the Eagles might have number 1 sewn up by the last week.
I think we probably should too. Another 1:00 game. This is actually a pretty good one. We've got Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the 7-5 Indianapolis Colts. The Indianapolis Colts have won 4 straight after starting 3 and wait a minute. They've won 4 straight, so that would mean 3-5. Yeah, so they start off the season 3-5. They won 4 straight. It looks like the Cincinnati Bengals are opening as a 2.5-point home favorite with Jake Browning with the over-under being at 44.5. Blaze, how do you see this one going?
I'm seeing this as like an even game. I don't trust either team. I guess I'll go with the hot hand, maybe the Bengals and the under.
Okay, Bengals and under. Who are you taking, Miami, James?
I'm gonna go with the hot hand as well, but I'll take the Colts. That's gonna be a 5-game winning streak, I think, and I'll take the under. I think it'll be a close, low-scoring game, but I think the Colts take it.
Okay. I actually disagree with Miami J. I'm gonna go with Blaze on this. I think the Bengals win. I think Jake Browning is the hot hand. Again, when you deal with backup quarterbacks, the one advantage they have, at least for the first few weeks, is that nobody has much film on you, right? And I think that's what happened with Jacksonville, is they didn't have much film on him. Now it took a last second field goal to win the game, but he still got the W. I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to win. I don't think they cover. I think they win by 1 point over the Indianapolis Colts in a close one. Jacksonville and Cleveland. This is a very intriguing game. Jacksonville going on the road with the hobbled Trevor Lawrence, who, by the way, is going to play today. He is going to play today. He looked really good in warmups. The Cleveland Browns laying 2 points, 37.5 is the over-under. Blaze, how do you see this one going?
I'm going to go with the Jaguars. Even a hobbled quarterback, dude, he's still better than the Browns quarterback. Okay. So like Flacco, he didn't play. He played like okay, but dude, he's not gonna get you to like a big game like this.
Yeah. Flacco's nice. Honestly, the Jets could have used him this season because he's playing pretty serviceable. Miami J, how do you see this one going?
Well, first, let me say next season, you guys got to remind me. I'll keep track of all of our picks so we can, at the end of the season, compare, maybe give out a trophy to the.
Oh, that would be a good one. Yes.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun. Having said that, I'll take the Cleveland Browns. I'll take the under. I think that defense is going to rise to the challenge. And I'm voting right now for Flacco as comeback player of the year.
Wow, Joe Flacco. Oh, wow, dude. Hot take there by Miami J. Joe Flacco, comeback player of the year. I think Jacksonville takes this one, but I think Jacksonville wins. Which means they cover. I'm taking the under. I'm looking at this. This could be like a 16-13 game, 20-15, something like that. But I think Jacksonville needs this game a lot more than Cleveland needs this more than Jacksonville, but Jacksonville is just the better team. They're the better side. Let's move to the next game. This is going to be a snooze fest. The 1-11 Carolina Panthers going into New Orleans as 5.5-point underdogs. The line is 39.5. Jay Blaze, who you got? And are you taking the over-under?
Take the New Orleans Saints because they're slightly less pathetic than the Panthers, and that is not a high. I guess I'll take the over. There could be some cheap points.
Yeah, there are going to be some garbage points in there. How do you see this one going, Miami J?
I'm going to take the Saints. Alvin Kamara is going to have 200 yards and 4 touchdowns, mainly because I need it for my fantasy team. I will take the over, just like Blake.
I'm going to take the upset. I think Carolina, I think they're going through some turmoil. This might be one of those games where they just put it all together. They just fired Frank Reich and all that good stuff. And I think they rally the troops. So I think they go into New Orleans and they beat the Saints. And I think it's going to be a shootout. The Saints have a pretty okay defense. The Panthers don't have a very good defense. So I think this is going to be a shootout. There's going to be I'm going to go 42-35 Carolina over New Orleans. This is a very intriguing game. Yeah. The second place in the AFC South, coming off of the loss against Jacksonville, the upstart Houston Texans go into MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Jets and starting quarterback Zach Wilson. The Texans are 3-point favorites on the road. Blaze, how do you see this one? I'm sorry. Apollo says Saints win. Carolina is awful. Apollo thinks Houston wins this one. What say you, Jay Blaze?
I like Houston because the Jets quarterbacks, like, they can't get past the 20-yard line.
No.
And yeah, I'll take the Texans. And is that 33? So I guess I'll take the over.
Okay. What about you, Miami J?
Yeah, I'll take Houston and I'll take the over. I think if Rodgers was serious about coming back, this will be the game to do it.
Yeah.
Just to see if there's a chance, because if they lose this game, they're out of the playoff contention anyway. So, Yeah, I'll take Houston, and this is it for the Jets. I don't think we're going to see Aaron Rodgers this year.
Yeah, they confirmed that this week. They said that Aaron Rodgers
Oh,
is unlikely to play this season. I think we all figured that it was, kind of a lot of hype to keep the team motivated. I
yeah.
agree with you guys. I'm taking Houston. I'm definitely taking the over. And I think the Houston Texans, I think they scored 35 points themselves. I think Houston goes into MetLife. I think it's a blowout. The Jets don't really have anything to play for other than pride. And so I think that's how this is going to end up. Intriguing game. The Los Angeles Rams. The upstart Los Angeles Rams go into Baltimore. They are 7.5-point underdogs. The line is 41.5. Who you got, Blaze?
I like the Rams to keep it close. So I do like the Rams with the 7.5. And I'll take the over.
Okay, you're going to take the over. So you're taking the Ravens or taking the over, but Baltimore wins. Do they cover?
Yeah, I think the Rams cover.
Okay, wow, very good. What about you, Blaze?
So I'll take the Baltimore Ravens to win, but I think the Rams cover. I don't think the Ravens win by a touchdown. I can see Justin Tucker winning this on a last minute field goal. I'll take the over. I actually think it's really low for this game.
I'm going to take the over as well. I think the Ravens win, but I don't think they cover. I think the Rams keep it close. Again, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, and listen, Matthew Stafford is still playing very well. There's still a lot to play for. I'm actually kind of shocked that they're 6-6 at this point. So to me, that is a testament to not only their defense, but their coaching staff as well.
I will say, if the Rams pull off the upset here, then they really have a chance at the playoffs with the remaining schedule. Like, you have to assume 2 more losses, 4 more wins. Looking at their schedule, if they win this game, they really got a shot.
No, I totally agree. Apollo says, I want to pick the Rams, but West Coast teams in the 1 p.m. games don't fare well, and I agree. I totally agree with that. I think the Rams keep it close, but I think Baltimore wins. They don't cover, and I'm definitely taking the over. This is another intriguing game. The 6-6 Minnesota Vikings, who have cooled off a little bit with Josh Dobbs, go into Allegiant Stadium to face Aiden O'Connell and the 5-7 Raiders. The Vikings are laying 3.5 points on the road with the over under being at 40.5. So Blaze, how do you see this one playing out?
You had Max Crosby come out and back his coach. So I think they're going to play for him. I like the Raiders. Yeah.
Okay, you're taking the Raiders. Do they? Well, if you take the Raiders, they're obviously covering. You're going to take the over under here.
Over.
Okay, very good. What about you, Miami Jay?
I'm going to take the Vikings.
Wow.
I think this is one of those 50-50 shot games. I think the Vikings maybe want it more. I think their path to the playoffs is a lot clearer than for the Raiders. So I'll take the Vikings to cover, and I'll take the over.
I'm gonna take the over. I think the Raiders win. I think they win and cover, but barely. I think they win this game by I think it's gonna be a 24-20 game. The reason why I think the Raiders are gonna win this game is because the Raiders players are playing a lot harder for Antonio Pierce than the Minnesota Vikings are playing for Kevin O'Connell. However, the reason why the Vikings are getting 3 on the road is because of the return of Justin Jefferson. So watch out for him. Justin Jefferson could absolutely be the X factor. Apollo agrees with me. He says that the Raiders will get the win. Let's go to this game. We've got the Seattle Seahawks going on the road against the 9-3 San Francisco 49ers, who absolutely boat raced the Eagles on the road this past Monday night or Sunday night. The 6-6 Seahawks. Now, Geno Smith is going to be a game time decision for this particular game because he injured his groin in practice. They are 13.5-point underdogs on the road. Blaze, who you got?
I think the Seahawks cover. I think they lose, but cover. Because I think there's going to be a little post, that Eagles game was huge for them.
Yeah.
And I'll take the under.
Okay. So you're going to take the under. What about you, Miami Jay?
I disagree on the under. I'll take the over. I think this game, I don't think it's going to be, I think it'll be close, but not that close. I'm actually going to take the Niners. The spread, I usually don't take a spread that high, so I'll take the Seahawks to cover, but I think this is easily a 10-point game.
I totally agree. I'm going to take the Niners to win. I'm going to take the over, but I don't think they cover. I think the Seahawks cover. I think the Niners probably come out a little bit sluggish just because they're kind of shaking off what happened in Philadelphia. Again, that was an emotional high. They came in dressed in black. They handled their business, and now they got to get up for the Seattle Seahawks again, who are coming in with a hobbled quarterback in Geno Smith. So I think the Niners win this game. I think they win by, I don't know, 8 to 10 points, so they don't cover. And I'm definitely going to take the over on this because I think both of these teams can score. Buffalo at Kansas City. This is going to be a very intriguing matchup. Both teams absolutely need this game. Josh Allen is not afraid of Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, even though he's never beaten Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City. 1-point favorites are the Chiefs at home. The line is 48.5. Blaze, who you got? Who covers?
Dude, the Bills coach has been getting dragged this week.
Yes, he
but
has.
I still think the Chiefs take care of business because they're coming off a loss.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll take the Chiefs.
Okay. What about you, Miami J?
Yeah, it's a rule of thumb. You never bet against Patrick Mahomes coming off a loss. So I'll take the Chiefs here, and I'll actually take the over. I think this game might be a shootout.
All right. I'm going to take the Chiefs. Obviously, if I think the Chiefs are going to cover, I think they'll win. I think it'll be close. I think it's a 3 or 4 point game. I don't think this is going to be a shootout. I think the Bills stiffen up defensively. And of course, the Kansas City Chiefs have that very young and fast defense. So I'm going to take the Kansas City Chiefs to win this game. I think they cover. But I don't think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game. 4:25 p.m. game. We've got the LA Chargers once again going against the 6-6 Broncos, who suddenly look much better than the LA Chargers. How do you see this one going, Blaze?
Broncos, and I'm gonna go the under.
Okay, wow, that's intriguing. What about you, Miami J? What do you think about this?
Yeah, I'm not sure who in Vegas set the Chargers as a favorite for this game. I got the Broncos all the way, and as far as the over/under, I don't know. I think it'll push right around there. I can see it 20 I'll take the under because I gotta take it.
I'm going to take the Broncos. They're going to cover, and I'm going to take the over. Listen, man, Brandon Staley, I think it's clear that he's a lame duck coach. I don't think he thinks he's a lame duck coach. I don't think he thinks he's a lame duck coach, so his coaching style isn't going to change. Apollo says 49ers win, Seahawks keep it close. On Buffalo, he says Buffalo wins. He thinks Denver rebounds, and I agree with him. The next game is, once again, the game of the day, game of the year. The Eagles going on the road against the Dallas Cowboys. 3.5-point underdogs at Jerry World. The line is 51.5 points. Blaze, who do you see? How do you see this one going?
Dude, Dak to have any shot at sniffing an MVP needs to win this game. So I'll go the Cowboys. Just
okay. You can take the over.
Dude, I don't feel good about it. Yeah, I'll take the Cowboys and then probably the under.
Okay, he's taking the Cowboys and the under. Jay Blaze is taking the Cowboys and the under. He doesn't look confident at all. Miami J, what you got, man?
Well, first off, I'm not ready to give this game the title of Game of the Year again.
Okay.
You guys had like a Game of the Year every week.
Every fucking week, dude.
By definition, that's just the game of the week.
Yes, there we go.
So as far as this game's concerned, look, I haven't been a believer in the Cowboys all year. I'm sure they watch us in the Dallas Cowboys locker room. So if they want me to shut up about how bad the Cowboys are, they're going to need to win this game. Having said that, I got the Eagles. I got them covering, and I got the over.
Dude, I agree with Miami J. Never underestimate a team who was humiliated on national TV. Yeah. This week of practice was extremely intense. Guys are focused, and a lot of guys might not be privy to this because you don't live in my region. I watch Eagles coverage all the time. These guys are hungry. They're angry. They're tired of hearing about Dak Prescott and the MVP, getting fat on Dallas in their 14-game winning streak and number 1 in the NFL. They've beaten one team with a winning record, and they barely beat them at that. They still consider the loss in Philadelphia a win, even though they lost that game. I think the Cowboys are reading their own press clippings. I think that the Eagles are listening to everyone talk about how the Cowboys are better than the Eagles, even though the Eagles had by far and away the most difficult schedule. I think the Eagles put it on the Cowboys, but I will say this. If the Cowboys beat the Eagles decisively and Dak Prescott has a great game, the Cowboys are going to be terrible for the next 4 years. Here's why. Because Dak Prescott will win the MVP. This is a contract year for Prescott. And you know how Jerry Jones is. Dak Prescott is not the MVP, but it's not really it's a narrative. It's a story award. It's really about a narrative. Everyone is tired of Dak Prescott getting dogged. That's why when he beats up on the Rams and all these shitty teams, they want to, he's the best quarterback. Fine. Let him do that. If he has a good game against the Eagles, the Cowboys are going to be terrible for the next 4 years because Jerry's going to pay Dak $60 million a year, and they're not going to be able to afford much of anything. That being said, I think the Eagles go on the road. I think they take care of business against the Cowboys. The Cowboys do need this game more than the Eagles. If the Eagles lose this game, we're still in first place in the NFC East. We still have the inside track of the number 1 overall seed. If the Eagles win this game, NFC East is over. We've got the number 1 overall seed, even though we will have lost to the San Francisco 49ers. Apollo says, Eagles are angry about the 49ers loss. They will win and break Dallas's home winning streak. We have two. Go ahead.
And Big Don banned.
Oh, Big Dom has been banned from the sidelines of this particular game. I think that Eagles need to have a patch on their shirt, on their jersey that says Dom, hashtag free Big Dom. God damn it. Even though he was out of line. 2 Monday Night Football games coming up on the schedule tomorrow. We've got the Tennessee Titans going on the road against Miami. We've got the Green Bay Packers going on the road to visit MetLife Stadium. Miami J, talk to me about the Dolphins and the Titans. How do you see this one going?
I think Miami's going to win it. I think they'll cover, actually. I think Miami's putting it all back together after the Raiders and the Commanders games. I'll take the over. I think Miami's going to take this game 45-14. Having said that, it'd be kind of cool if Tannehill was still starting for the Titans. It would be, wouldn't it? They would probably do a little tribute for him down here in Miami because in Miami will recognize he was damn good. He was just miscoached.
Yep, I totally agree.
I think he won like his last 22 games that he started in Miami.
Yep.
He just happened to have a rash of injuries. But, I think Miami takes it. I think Miami covers, and I think Miami beats the over.
Okay, very good. Blaze, how do you see this one going?
Yeah, it's weird to see a Monday night, 2 Monday night games at the same time.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Both of them start at 8:15.
Yeah, it is kind of weird. Normally, now ESPN's done double headers on Monday night before, and it's usually the East Coast game that starts at 7:00, and then the West Coast game I think starts at 8, or sometimes even like 9, depending upon the stadium. But it is kind of weird that these are starting at the same time. I'm not sure why that happened.
Yeah, and they're both East Coast.
I'll take the Dolphins to take care of business because they're under the Titans are under 500. And I'll take the over.
Yeah, I agree. 3 for 3. I think the Dolphins absolutely curb stomp the Tennessee Titans. Here's a little known fact. The last 5 weeks, the Dolphins are the number 1 defense in the NFL. A lot of people now, unfortunately, they lost one of their linebackers, Jalen Phillips, which really sucks. But they did sign Jason Pierre-Paul to shore up that defensive line. I think they're in Will Levis's face all game long. I'm gonna take the over. I think the Dolphins win this game by more than 13.5. So I'm gonna take the over. But I do think that the Titans make a push late. I think it'll be 42-7, 42-14, something like that. Maybe the Titans put up a couple of garbage touchdowns, but that's the way I see this one going. And of course, the last game of the weekend are the Green Bay Packers going on the road to MetLife Stadium. They are 6.5-point favorites on the road. Jay Blaze, how do you see this one going?
Packers wreck them.
Yeah. Packers roll. They take. Yeah. What about you, Miami Jay?
I think this is where Tommy DeVito starts the Giants playoff push.
Yeah. Oh, no. Wow.
I'm kidding.
Oh, man. I was like, oh, shit.
Technically, the Giants are not eliminated, but I'll take the Packers here. I'll take the over, and the Packers are going to cook something.
Dude, 3 for 3. Packers over, cover, all that. Last question of the day. BF39 Prod says, I got a fantasy football question. Should I start Rashee Rice or James Cook? I would start Rice.
Who's got the better matchup, though? Who are they playing against? BF39.
The Chiefs are playing the Bills, and the Bills' defense is a little porous.
Right.
Yeah, it's Star Rice.
Yeah, I would probably play Rice as
Yeah,
well.
I'd go with Rashee Rice. All right, guys, we are going to go and watch the games. There is going to be a Zoom call. We're going to do that at 4:00 this afternoon. So stay tuned for that. Thank you all very much for tuning in and enjoy the games, guys.
Have fun, everybody. Peace out.
Laters.